You ran him over. You backed up into him at something like 24 miles an hour.
Is she hot? Yeah, she's kind of hot, but no ass. Balloon knot, leaky poo.
Tell me if you're interested in someone else. Can't think of any other reason you've been like this.
Could I have tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him? And I thought, did he somehow try to flag me down, which was the reaction I was hoping to garner as I slowly pulled away from the house.
Nobody knows what the fuck you want, you fucking pervert.
I am open-minded to the theory that in her anger, she backed up too quickly and ran him over and either didn't realize it or did and didn't care. But
yeah.
John, I'm here with your fucking kids.
Choose, is she factually innocent or is she factually guilty? I would choose
Ho. The prosecution alleges that they left this bar. They drove over to a friend's house, another cop. Her boyfriend got out of the car. She alleges he went to the front door of the house. He went inside and something terrible happened to him. The prosecution said, no, he got out of your car. He never made it inside because you ran him over. You backed up into him, casting him into the snowbank, where he then later died from blunt trauma and hypothermia. Is that the basics?
The two best-looking attorneys currently admitted to the bar, the king and the queen, are here discussing the Karen Read case. Let's watch.
It turns on what happened after they got to 34 Fairview. Everybody's basically on the same page. She drops him off. He gets out of the car. There also seems to be third-party witness testimony that he gets out of the car. After that, that's where the stories kind of turn.
And he walked up the driveway, and John always walked, kind of skipped and walked at the same time. He was always in a rush, and approaches the side door. And as I see him approach the door, I look down at my phone, I cue up a song, and I just start browsing through missed text messages and a couple emails. And I saw him reach the breezeway door, which is the side front door. And he opened the door and went to walk in.
If you believe the prosecution and the witnesses inside 34 Fairview, he never makes it inside the house. She backs up, hits him with her Lexus because she's angry at him about, a multitude of things, and they're fighting, and she wanted to end his life, I guess, is their point of view. If you believe Karen Read, she said he walked in towards the house. She didn't see John O'Keefe again. He stayed inside. He was supposed to come back out, kind of tell her what's going on. She gets pissed off, drives back to his house, calls him, leaves him all these angry text messages.
John, I'm here with your fucking kids. Nobody knows what the fuck you want, you fucking pervert.
And he never comes home. That's Karen Read's story.
The best fact that I think the prosecution has. Number one, that she allegedly said, I hit him.
This video is very interesting to watch because Megyn Kelly doesn't know much about the case, and it's always great to hear what outsiders believe based upon a random array of facts for which they've heard.
I hit him. And they also have tailgate plastic in his clothing. So it doesn't look like he got beaten up inside. It looks like he got hit by her car. The best fact I saw for her defense, because her defense is, no, he walked into the house. I didn't run him over. He went into the house, and then there was some cop on cop violence. Some old score got settled, and they beat him to death and then threw him in the snowbank and tried to say that I ran him over. And the best evidence I saw for Karen Read's theory was that someone inside that house allegedly Googled something to the effect of, how long can you be out in the snow?
Obviously, if it was true that Jen McCabe did search for that at that particular time, then yes, that would be the best piece of evidence. However, we know now that that didn't occur at that particular time. And clearly, that's not the best piece of evidence. The best piece of evidence Karen Read has is John O'Keefe's actual body. Had he been hit by a car, he would have had the resulting broken bones that you would normally see from someone getting hit by a car.
Before you die, before they found the body.
I said, could I have hit him? Did I hit him?
How could that have been? I mean, you dropped him off at the house.
I don't know what else could have been. It was howling wind. I had YouTube blasting on the stereo.
Karen has admitted she never saw John O'Keefe enter the house. She's also said that she was distracted by the howling wind and the YouTube music. That's very critical because we know where John O'Keefe was actually attacked by Brian Higgins is not set yet. We're not 100% sure if Higgins attacked John inside the house, somewhere outside the house, or in the garage.
And I thought, did he somehow try to flag me down, which was the reaction I was hoping to garner as I slowly pulled away from the house. Did he come out and maybe trip or bend over to pick up his cell phone, and I ran over his foot, and then he passed out drunk? I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him? Could I tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him? He didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see, but could I have done something that knocked him out in drunkenness and in the cold didn't come to again?
Getting beat up by cops inside, he had raccoon eyes. He died from hitting the back of his head. And, the evidence shows maybe it was on a ledge.
Always remember that the raccoon eyes, the blackness around the eyes, were not because of him getting punched in the eyes. It was because of the coup contre coup. When John's head hit the back of that ledge, his brain moved forward and fractured his orbital, causing those blackness. It wasn't because of him being beat.
And not a flat ground.
The theory of the prosecution is easy to understand, that she and John hadn't really been getting along.
At 10:09 a.m., Karen says, I am not the same as everybody else. Most of the time, I try to do what is healthy/smart for them. More importantly, I try to support you and what you need. You just lashed out at me and said terrible things. I have a lot going on, too. Physically, I'm falling apart and trying to get answers and help.
These are text messages between Karen Reed and John O'Keefe the day before he was killed.
Karen says to John, maybe you can call someone. John says, like who? What time are you coming here? I don't know what time. Feel kind of out of it. Just trying to clear my head. Karen says at 2:16, feel pretty shitty about how this morning went down.
These text messages are referring to an argument both Karen Reed and John O'Keefe had at John O'Keefe's house that very morning.
I know you said sorry, but it really stung, especially when I've been trying pretty hard lately. I feel like a loser turning around, just coming back over after everything you said. John says, not sure what else you want me to do. I said I'm sorry and I was out of line. If you prefer to stay home, I totally get it. Karen replies back at 2:17, things in my own life have been difficult too, John writes back at 2:17, I know. At 2:25 p.m., tell me if you're interested in someone else. Can't think of any other reason you've been like this. At 2:25, John responds back, nope, things haven't been great between us for a while. Ever consider that? Kids are here, not in the mood to talk. Reed says, I'm trying to hug and kiss you this morning and you whack me in the face with a pillow. Last night, you're basically like, yeah, what about? When we talk about the future. So why don't you just admit you're not into it so much anymore?
What's your end game? What do you want from me?
Question mark.
So what do you want from me? I don't know. You have zero idea? Nope. Oh God. What now? Why oh God? Because I need some direction.
This is very interesting because we see here Karen is the insecure party in this exchange. Recall when she was texting with Brian Higgins, Higgins was the insecure party.
I will see you around. I knew this is how you would act. Whatever. You can get most any guy you want. So you're not losing any sleep over this. It's actually simple. What do you want from me? What do you desire? I suspect you will give up eventually. Just so you know, I will still be your friend.
And Karen was the secure party.
John says, not how it went down, but okay. Can you please admit your head is out of the game with us? Sick of always arguing and fighting. It's been weekly for several months now. So yeah, I'm not as quick to jump back into being lovey-dovey as you apparently. Oh my God, stop calling. Then why would you start with me this morning? And then followed up by 2:33, you're setting me up to fail. John writes back, I've explained it a few times already, not doing it again. So you're not into this anymore. Not into fighting all the time, correct. If you tell me you're interested in someone else, you will never hear from me again. You can have all the space in the world.
That's a very insecure text message, and that's exactly what we saw Higgy Bear doing when he was texting with Karen.
I will see you around. I knew this is how you would act. Whatever. You can get most any guy you want, so you're not losing any sleep over this.
She says, then stop starting with me. I'm not answering, stop calling. Can you please answer after how you treated me earlier? Kaylee is right here. You're starting a rager with me out of nowhere, and then you tell me you're sick of fighting with me. I'm going to grab a drink in a bit. Can you answer, please, at 2:38?
In between these text messages, Karen was constantly calling John because she wanted to speak to him. John had his daughter right there, so he didn't want to do it.
No, Karen, not sure why you need to announce that you're going drinking, but have fun. Seeing if you want to meet me later. Can you please call me? I've been trying to get over the hump with is arguing, and now you tell me you're not into things. And if you don't want to fight weekly, but fly off the handle at 8 a.m. with me, like you're setting me up to fail. Okay, let me know if you end up leaving. Why? Now you're not coming? Karen writes back, I'm waiting for the plumber. Actually think he's in the driveway. We're taking Mike's car, so I'm relying on you for a ride home.
Beautiful passive-aggressive text message by Karen. She references a plumber who is another guy who can come over and help fix her pipes. It's beautiful because she knows not only will that bother John, it also lets him know that he better start treating her better because she can find another man in any capacity.
He leaves. You have a plumber coming over at 8, knowing me and Papa could have handled it. Good luck. Yeah, but he lives right down the road. I think the four of us together is toxic to this relationship. Would like to limit it.
Karen's referring to John and his 2 adopted kids.
And says, you've said so yourself. for probably a year now. And John writes back at 8:33, blizzard tomorrow, nobody is going anywhere. And again, 8:35, I'll head up there in a few minutes. Let me know if you leave. John replies back, sure. The next one's not until 12:55 a.m. on the 29th. I'm going home.
And now we know that this text message was sent after Brian Higgins attacked and killed John O'Keefe at 34 Fairview.
He had talked about possibly breaking up with her. She was very angry that night. She was drunk, and in her drunken anger, she ran him over. Why would John O'Keefe's fellow cops want him dead?
So two very different theories, but when they were trying to prove that somebody inside the house killed John O'Keefe,
Brian Higgins,
it was based on jealousy, because somebody inside the house,
Brian Higgins,
had been texting flirtatious texts with Karen Reed, had kissed Karen Reed.
the defendant kissed me, not like a friend.
And what was your reaction to that?
And the defense was trying to use some videos in one of the bars as if these two guys were grappling and play fighting, but they were kind of getting in the mood to fight, I guess. Some of it was a little bit of a reach, but they were trying to say that they looked over across the bar and pointed at John O'Keefe and told John O'Keefe to come to 34 Fairview.
Peter's conflating the two trials. In trial number one, the biggest error Karen Reed's attorneys made was not witnessing Brian Higgins threatening John O'Keefe at the bar at 11:56 p.m., just minutes before he eventually attacks John O'Keefe. That was a huge issue. In trial number two, finally they realized we have the murderer,
Brian Higgins,
threatening John O'Keefe on video. And then 20 minutes later, the murderer texts John O'Keefe, you coming here. He was ready to fight.
yes, I said, are you coming here? Followed by 3 question marks.
They missed that completely.
Because basically they wanted to fight. And that was kind of their theme and theory of why somebody, what the motivation for somebody being wanting to kill John O'Keefe inside that house. Is she hot? Yeah, she's kind of hot, but no ass. She has, this Boston accent or whatever. They were objectifying her, which is one thing. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to pin some crime on her. She had a balloon knot, leaky poo. The person that she was having the affair with,
Brian Higgins,
we're back and forth and racy and talking about John and how we need to hide this from John. And then that person went to the police station that night at 2 a.m. and said he was moving cars around, but was instead moving bags back and forth between different cars, going inside the police station with his hood up.
We covered the various potential reasons why Brian Higgins went to the Canton police station after killing John O'Keefe. He tried to claim that he was doing the Irish exit and moving cars, and we clearly proved that that was not the real reason he went there, because he had already left the keys for the dopes at Canton to move the cars. There's no way he would waste his time and energy at 2:30 in the morning after a full day of drinking to go back and move his cars.
And just sketchy thing on top of sketchy thing from all these law enforcement officers involved.
So listening to you, Peter, I feel like you may believe that Karen Reed is actually innocent, not just found not guilty.
I would never prosecute this case. This is just not one I would have felt ethically comfortable with putting in front of a jury.
I 100% agree. When you hire an attorney, it is their obligation to advocate the best they possibly can within the confines of the law on your behalf. However, when you're a prosecutor, there is something very unique in the law. It is not your obligation to advocate or win at all costs. You're there to literally seek the truth. You have such great power. You can take away someone's freedom. You could take away someone's life. You're not obligated to win no matter what. You are obligated to seek the truth and figure out what actually happened.
On the civil side, will they be able to get enough to prove to a jury by the greater weight of the evidence, 51%? I think it's possible, but it's just so hard to know what happened inside that house of 34 Fairview. If I had to choose, is she factually innocent or is she factually guilty? I would choose that she's factually innocent. I'm just not overly confident of that. I don't think I would be able to say that beyond a reasonable doubt, because I really don't think anybody's ever going to be able to prove what happened that night.
I totally disagree, and I never take that loser attitude. We have to work with all the evidence that we have. This case is very simple, and we show that every single time we do these videos. There are only 10 possible people in the entire world that could have killed John O'Keefe. If you narrow it down and do the research, it's very easy.
So a person that gets hit by a car, and we all kind of know what that looks like, especially if somebody gets hit at 24 miles an hour. I have had clients die at 24 miles an hour getting hit by a car.
Bragger.
But do you know what they look like? They have broken bones. They've got internal bleeding. They've got serious head injuries. They've got injuries below the waist. John O'Keefe had none of that. no broken bones, no bruising anywhere on his body. The back of his head hitting the ground, basically, or hitting a ledge was the cause of his death.
Peter's 100% correct. And Megyn, you got to realize it's not the dopey Google searches that help Karen Read. The biggest piece of evidence that sets her free, that makes her completely innocent, is the fact that John has no broken bones on his body, and nobody saw John laying on the lawn. Had he been hit, they would have seen him.
And as a criminal defense lawyer, the way you want to look at it and what your duty is and how you try a case, how you handle a case, all of those roles are incredibly different than a prosecutor who is only there to find truth and justice. And sometimes that's making hard decisions and letting people you think might be guilty go and not prosecuting those cases because you have all the leverage, all the power to ruin people's lives. There's very little repercussion when you lose. And that's a very big responsibility and power that you have as a prosecutor that makes that job very different than a criminal defense lawyer or any type of civil lawyer. And that, to me, was where this case could have been handled more appropriately.
Finally, Peter and I have something in common. I 100% agree. As a prosecutor, there is so much misconduct and so much unethical behavior when they prosecuted Karen Read based upon these facts.
This case is a mystery. I'd love to know the truth. I am open-minded to the theory that in her anger, she backed up too quickly and ran him over and either didn't realize it or did and didn't care.
There is no way Karen Read was so angry based upon what was presented to us that she would actually kill John O'Keefe. That was an amateur fight. Those of us from Italian or Jamaican families know that fight is amateur.
You have to see the Gambinis in action. I mean, these people, they love to argue.
We've seen much bigger brawls.
I mean, they live to argue.
My parents argue too. That doesn't make them good lawyers.
And then reconciliation. This was absolutely nothing.
Stan, I've seen your parents argue. Trust me, they're amateurs.
There was no motive there for Karen Read to kill John O'Keefe. Again, it would be so foolish of her. She had no kids. She wasn't married to him. She was completely free. The worst thing in the world she could do was harm John O'Keefe.
I haven't heard anything that would lead me to believe she's an intentional murderer who would just take out her anger by killing somebody.
That was just a mistake. For them to even go for that was such a mistake. They were never going to be able to prove anything like that. They just don't line up to me, the injuries, for it to be a car accident the way that the prosecution described, and that's so hard for me to get over.
Thank you so much, Peter Drago. So good to see you again. This has been the most clear, easy to understand explanation of a very complex case I think I've ever heard. It makes me miss you all the more. Thanks for being back with us.
Of course, it's much clearer when you're hearing it from someone as good looking as Peter or as Megyn. However, those of us with average looks have to actually explain it with detail and facts, and that's what we're doing here. And no matter what, we are never going to stop producing these videos until the real killer,
Brian Higgins,
is brought to justice.
So it makes service. Let's make sure we look our best for the camera.
And look like it.